Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stampin' Up with Jamie. I'm so glad you're joining me tonight. If you're catching this on replay, thank you so much for watching. Certainly let me know if you have any questions or if I can be of any help. Okay, there we go. I'm live. This was take 3. I was having a little bit of technical difficulties. I'm not sure what's up with Facebook tonight. Hopefully it doesn't completely cut out on me or something, So tonight I'm making a masculine card. I did make it a Father's Day card. However, tonight I'm going to be making it just a plain happy birthday card. I figured birthday cards are definitely, everybody needs a birthday card. And so whoever gets tonight's card, I know for sure you'll be able to use it. So lots going on, and I'm actually going to be switching things up a little bit, as I tend to usually do on my lives. Once I've made it once, I kind of get other ideas, or I look at it and think, oh, I wish I had done this, that, or the other thing differently. So let's just get right into the card. Hi, everyone. Hi, thank you so much for joining me. How's everyone tonight? I hope everyone's well, holding up all right. So happy to be here with you. My card base here is Sahara Sand. It is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. And I'm just going to go ahead and score that with my bone folder here. I will say that I am going to be working on a separate, same exact size as my card front, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. But I'm going to be working off of this and then just adhering it to my card front. It's a little easier. And I don't know if you can tell, but I wrapped around some twine here. And the only way to get it to wrap around this way, unless you put a little hole in your card, which I guess you could do, is to have a separate layer. So that's kind of my thought process behind having a separate layer and then adhering it to the front. Also, if you start your card and you don't like it, you haven't ruined a whole piece of cardstock, just a little piece. The stamp sets that I'm using tonight is the Mountain Air stamp set. This doesn't have a sentiment in it, so you're going to have to find some sort of sentiment somewhere else. But this is two-sided stamping. So we have these images. For this example, right? One side is really, it's easier to do it this way. One side is really detailed, and then you flip it and you get a shadow effect by stamping the back of it. So every image allows that, can do that for you. Tonight, I'm going to use this mountain, and I'm going to use it both sides, and then just the tree line, not the shadow, but just the tree line. And then I am going to pair it with the dies, the Majestic Mountain dies. It is a bundle if you buy them together. And this is what the dies look like. I've used them a couple times, so they're kind of fallen off. And I'm going to be cutting out 2 trees with this die here. I already did it ahead of time, but I will show you that. And I was looking, you do get 2 of these trees. It looks like they're identical. I was kind of looking to see if they were different in some way, but it looks like they're just same tree, just 2 of them. It makes it nice if you're looking to cut out a whole bunch of trees. A lot easier to get 2 done at the same time as opposed to just 1 at a time. And then our sentiment here is from the Well Said stamp set. And I'm only using, it's a double set. I didn't think to grab the other set. Should I get it? Hold on. There we go. It's huge. It is so fun. If you're looking for just sentiments that cover just about every occasion you can imagine, and have ones that even you can stamp on the inside, and just kind of some fun ones. Happy St. Mother's Day is more like it. I love that. I think that's hysterical. I wish my kids would make a card with that for me. And some other really great ones. But I'm using this side of the stamp set. Again, I did make a Father's Day card. But because all of these words are their own separate stamps, you can combine and mix them however you wish. So I'm using, there it is. I'm I can't find the happy. Happy, and then the birthday, which is down here. So that's the one I'm going to be using for you tonight. So you're going to need a panel of your Sahara Sand. Again, it's the same exact size as my card front, but just going to be working off of that. That Well Said and the coordinating dies use it often. I love them, Roz. I love, love, love them. To me, they're just an absolute must. And I love that they cover just about every occasion. I don't think I have anything else that says Father's Day. I'd have to go and look. But it's just nice to have, you know, like a go-to stamp set. I was making a masculine card. I knew I could count on that to have a Father's Day sentiment for me. So this is my color palette. It's Night of Navy, Sahara Sand, Garden Green. I'm kind of pulling from colors from the Country Club Designer Series paper. So right now I have the flat side of my stamp set out. So the detail, the mountain, the details is up against my block. So you want just the flat side. So I'm looking to get this image. That's the image I'm trying to achieve. It's so good, right, Renise? So, so good. And I'm going to stamp in the Sahara Sand. And I'm actually going to stamp off. Now, Sahara Sand is kind of oh, thank you so much for sharing. It's kind of a light shade anyways. So the shadowing that we're going to get back here, you're not going to tell, you're not going to be able to see it a whole heck of a lot, quite honestly. It's just kind of like a soft effect in the background. So, and actually, for the example that I did tonight, I did it twice. And I just realized I was going to get my chamois. It's good to go, but it's a little on the dry side, but oh well. Because I only have one of the size blocks, so I'm going to have to be switching it out. So I'm stamping off. I don't know if you can see that. It's on my grid paper down here. And then, oh, maybe about 2/3 of the way up, I'm going to stamp my mountain. And I kind of rock it, honestly, because it's a pretty solid image. So you can't really, you know, mess it up. And I think I'm going to do it again. I don't know why. It doesn't come out so strong as when the stamp off image, but it does kind of make it a little darker. And it's easy to match this up, I feel like. Okay, yeah. So it's a little bit more noticeable, but not quite as noticeable. I don't know if it's hard for it to... Oh, I guess you can see it in the picture. It's not quite as dark as that, but a little bit darker. Now off screen here, I'm just going to take my chamois and now clean that stamp set. Clean it off. And then all I'm going to do is flip it over. So now I want the texture side out. I'm trying to get that image now. And I'm going to stamp it in Sahara Sand again. Now, obviously the stamp is, I'm sorry, there's a light catching a glare. The stamp is wider than the cardstock, but I am going to ink up the whole thing because I just want to be sure that I have enough of my image inked up that I don't have any white spots. And I'm going to go, I almost want to like half cover that mountain. Like that. I think this is such a fun stamp set, honestly. I love that you can do, and I think I've said it before, using it, that you can do so much with it. Very versatile. Very, very versatile. Sympathy cards, masculine cards, thinking of you cards. Just, it sets a nice scene. I think it's just a very, again, versatile stamp set. And I think you could use it a lot for scrapbooking too, even. Like if you're hiking, if you like nature, you have those kinds of things. I think it could be used for a lot. You need a lesson on how to use this set. You're funny, Karen. You just have to have fun. It's kind of like the My Metal one. Like you just kind of have to play around with it, I think. Okay, so this time I have the texture side out. Okay, so I'm trying to get this image. It's another one of those sets that scares me. Oh my goodness, you're too funny. Don't be scared. You just have to like play around and, you know, get comfortable with it. I'm stamping this one in Garden Green. Ink it up. I find this block so clunky to work with sometimes because it's just so massive. Okay. Now this one, I'm almost the top of my trees. I'm almost going to put right at the bottom of my mountains that I just stamped. I don't want too much of an overlap because if I overlap them too much, you're not going to see either the mountain or the tree lines. Now, if I wanted, I have a piece there that I missed. How did that not get stamped? Or did it get stamped? Oh, okay. I guess that's just how, like, that's how it is. if I wanted a little bit more control as to like my layering here, again, I could stamp and then use the dies that are in that Majestic Mountain dies to cut them out. I would use these dies here, cut them out and layer them up. But I felt pretty confident in just being able to stamp them and kind of get the right alignment where I wanted them. So here's the thing. If you didn't want to fuss anymore, you could just put this on your cardstock. Add like your sentiment down here. You could even stamp right on there. So this is it's a very friendly, I guess that's how I want to put it, friendly stamp. You can do very minimal stamping and still get an amazing effect without having to have all the bells and whistles. So again, you could just stamp this like this. You could even wrap a little twine around, put a sentiment. And here, I'll show you. This is my card for on Friday on my blog. Very, very, very simple stamping. And I really feel like you could do the same thing with this. Just stamp your mountains, a little twine, a cute note, and there you go. All done. Now, if you wanted to go a step further, you could. And that's what we're going to do. But you don't have to do that to get an amazing, just great card. Okay. No problem, Heather. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. So I have two pieces of paper here, cardstock. One is a piece of Night of Navy cardstock. This measures, let's see here, 1 3/4 by 5 1/2. It's going to run the complete length of the card. And then this is a pattern from the Country Club Designer Series paper. This is where I kind of got my color inspiration. There is a little bit of navy that's running through it, so that's why I pulled out the navy from there. And this is measuring, let's see here, 1 5/8 by 5 1/2. Again, 5 1/2 because it's running the full length of the card. Now, I don't know if you could tell in my sneak peek, but I did a little bit of rough tear on the cardstock. I feel like it adds, I normally don't do it. I usually really like clean lines, everything very like put together. But I thought it kind of added to the masculine card and made it a little bit more edgy and not so uptight, I guess. So let's start with the Night of Navy. And all I'm going to do is just tear into my card. And I'm kind of like working the cardstock a little up, a little down, because I don't want it like too like perfectly straight across. If I wanted it perfectly straight across, I would have just cut it with my trimmer. And it kind of, I don't know if, I hope the light can pick it up, but it is like a tear. It's not like I'm perfectly cutting this. I am really trying to get that paper to kind of come apart a little bit and give nice texture. Now to add a little bit of texture, and I pulled off a little bit. That's probably 1/8, maybe a little bit over 1/8 in total that I pulled off. I'm going to take my paper snips, open them up. And then with my sharp edge, be careful, your snips are super, super sharp. They will cut you, so be careful. I'm just going to run my snips along the edge that I just cut. And again, it just kind of helps roughen it up a little bit more, add a little bit more texture. And depending on, you know, how rough you want it, you can like apply a certain level of pressure, or if you just want a little bit, not so much pressure. And then, of course, you're going to have this kind of mess down here. So just brush that aside. And that's kind of what you're left with. Now I'm going to do the same thing to my Designer Series paper. Now our cardstock is thicker than our Designer Series paper. There is more like layers in it. This is it's just not thick. So when I tear it, it's not going to give you as much texture as our cardstock will. But what's nice about tearing the Designer Series paper is that it leaves behind almost this white edge to it. And that, I think, is what really shows the texture with the Designer Series paper. Again, not quite as much, like this has such an uneven, almost feathered edge, I want to call it. We're not going to quite get the same effect. But because the white shines through, I guess that highlights it. Now, I'm kind of trying to pull, of course, now I can't start my rip again. Let me have to turn, there we go. I'm trying to like almost pull the top layer so that the white is able to be seen a little bit more. Whoops, I went a little low on that one. It's definitely artistic. This one you can try and roughen it up with your snips again, but again, because it doesn't have as much layer to it, as much oomph to the cardstock compared to the cardstock, you're just not going to get as much feathering on it. And then I just want to layer it to make sure like my sizing, I think I went a little deeper. Hold on, let me just rip this a little bit more because I think it needs it. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, so just very rough, a rough edge. Now, something I was toying with, and this is where I said I might switch it up a little bit, is I think I want to trim this a little bit more. I think I want it more like that, which would mean I need to trim it like 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit more. So let me get my trimmer out here. I just want to cut it. This is going to be very rough, and I'm going to kind of have to eyeball it because I don't have a sharp edge on this side. I'm going to try and eyeball 1/8 of an inch. Let's see how good this goes. It's probably pretty close. And then I'm going to do my layering bit a little bit more. So again, depending on how much you want to show, how big you want this piece to be is how big you would cut it. I gave you the measurements kind of where I was starting, and then you can go from there. Okay, I think I want to trim it a little bit more. I'm sorry. It's like, you know, it's like the heart where you trim one little side and then you're like, no, it needs a little bit more. And then you trim a little bit more and no, it needs a little bit more. And then before you know it, you're like left with nothing. So I guess I'll kind of tell you what I end up with here in case you're trying to follow my measurements. But I probably ended up cutting it maybe 1/4 shorter. I almost want to cut it shorter even yet, but I'm not going to. Okay, I'll stop. I'll have to try it again on a different time and really cut it lower. But actually covers that little hole there, so I like that. So in the end, my designer series paper, I probably would have started it at about 1.5. 1.5 by 5.5, and then the cardstock I probably would have started it maybe at 1 5/8 by 5.5, probably, if I were to keep it kind of the way it looks right now. So I'm going to just take my adhesive and put it on my designer series paper here. I am adhering it flush to my cardstock, to the back of it, to the left of it, like so. This piece of Night of Navy must have been my other one too. It's just a hair longer than my designer series paper. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a snip. There we go. Because I'm paranoid like that. And then let's adhere it down to the card. Now, if you didn't want to work on a separate piece of Sahara sand and you wanted to work right onto the cardstock, what you could do is now wrap your twine around this piece. And then maybe adhere it down with Stampin' Dimensionals. You know what I mean? I did it around the whole thing. But if you didn't want to have another layer, you could do it right here. And then I would adhere this down with Stampin' Dimensionals. I hope that makes sense. You just have to, somehow it has to wrap, I guess is the only thing. Okay. So again, at this point, I think it would be great. You could adhere it to your card, add a nice little sentiment. Maybe you could even stamp right on the Sahara sand and all done. And at this point, you would have only have used cardstock, designer series paper, and a stamp. No die cutting machine needed, no punch, no bells or whistles. This could easily be a nice, simple stamping card. But why stop there? When you can go further, why not? So I'm using the Country Club Twine Combo Pack. You get 4 colors, Garden Green, Basic Black, Poppy Parade, and Night of Navy. I'm using the Night of Navy one. And I'm going to wrap it around and tie a knot. I would love to have tied this in a bow, but I figured it's a masculine card, so we should probably not do a bow. I eventually will give this a trim, but I'm starting, probably about 17 inches. That's a lot. It will definitely get cut down from there and wrap it around, but it's just easier to wrap while it's not on the spool. Tie it in a knot. It's kind of hard to do by yourself. Here's my trick though. Don't worry about getting it tight. I've said this before. I know it can be hard when you're tying bows or knots and there's no one around to kind of hold the twine or ribbon down for you, right? Like to put their finger in and tie it. But just go ahead and tie it as best you can. Maybe it's a little loosey-goosey. Okay, and then what I do, although this isn't too bad, get it kind of where you want it. And then what I do on the back is I kind of pull the twine back or ribbon, put some adhesive, and then I pull my ends together. And then it's, I guess, see, it wasn't that bad. But sometimes it's really off, especially ribbon. Ribbon can be really challenging. So now it's nice and taut. Okay, yeah, I definitely need to cut this down. I do love long tails, but this is a bit much. So we'll cut one end. So when I'm trying to measure, I cut one end like the size I want. Then I pull my other one next to it and trim. Again, these are probably things that you already know and you already do, but I don't know. It takes me a while to learn them, so maybe someone else can benefit. Okay, so, okay. So I went ahead and already cut these out. These are 2 trees I showed you from the dies earlier. I cut them out using garden green cardstock. So again, keeping with my same color theme that I have going on here, masculine colors, earthy tones, that sort of thing. Now, this is what I also wanted to play with. So I did mine very low, and I think I wanted them a little bit higher. So this is the one good thing about doing a card a second time is you can kind of analyze it and be like, I think I would do that differently. So let's just move my twine over for a second. It may not end up staying there, but I think I want my trees like up here, like 1 and then 2. Yeah, I like that better. The other ones were really low, right, compared to this. Yeah, maybe not that high. Maybe like there. Yeah, that's what we're going with. A little bit higher than I stamped. Love the squishing the twine on the back idea. Well, you know, Penny, I would get so frustrated because it's hard to tie a bow or a knot, and if you're by yourself, you don't have someone to kind of hold, put your finger in there and hold it tight for you. So as long as you're, covering up the twine in the back, like it's something being layered over it or it's completely hidden, just tie it loose and then do the little squishy in the back, and no one will ever know the difference. Okay, so I'm leaving my 1 tree there. This one's going to take its place, but so I have an idea of placement. So I can just kind of go like this, whoop, and then stamp it down, or not stamp it down, adhere it down. Hi, Judy. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you're well. I hope everyone's well, healthy. Well, I also want to say even like mentally and physically, right? Right now, all those things are important. So I'm using just liquid glue kind of sporadically, not putting on too much. I don't need a lot to hold this guy down. The liquid glue is super permanent. On the spots that I do put the glue down will be enough to hold the whole thing. It's not going to go flying around. Unless it sticks to my paper. There we go. And I can't get it up. Okay, and then I'm going to go just a slightly lower to give a little bit of depth. Like so. Okay, yes, I like that better. A little bit higher than my example. Then what to do with my twine? Do I move it back? Let's see here. Should I put it under? Yeah, I think I want to move it back. So you could do the twine after you've already done the trees. I guess I didn't have to do it in the order that I did it. You could do the twine very last. Okay. So again, sentiment from the Well Said stamp set. You can put together all sorts of different combinations of words and sayings and sentiments. But for tonight, I'm using happy birthday. Again, I made a Father's Day card just because I feel like when you can do it, honestly, because they can be hard and challenging. So here we go. So I have birthday. Again, they're all separate. So you kind of have to, you can stamp them side by side if you wish. I'm going to stamp them separately and then kind of offset them a little bit. You just need a little piece of Whisper White. And I'm stamping in Night of Navy ink. Oh, thanks, Lynn. I'm so glad you like it. Oh, good. Yeah, I'm glad it helps. Whatever to make it easier, right? It's this stamping and card making and paper crafting shouldn't be stressful. So whatever to make it easier, by all means. Okay, birthday, sorry. And then hopefully these are straight. There we go. Whew. I didn't really think that through that much. Oh, good, Renice. I'm so glad you like it. Masculine cards can be challenging. They just are, because again, you can't do a bow. I mean, I guess I could have done a bow. The guy's not going to throw it in my face, but you know, it's like you have to keep them simple. So I usually tend to go towards nature cards, nature stamps and that sort of thing. For my sentiment, I'm going to cut it super close. Again, I didn't do this ahead of time because it's just easier to do it in the moment. What I do, I don't know if I can describe this. So this side of my, you have like this little, there's a hole where the blade runs, right? So the right side of the hole, the blade, basically I'm trying to describe it. This is the ruler, right? So the other side of the ruler, I put right up against the top of my sentiment, right up against those words there, those letters. And then I slide the paper ever so slightly and then cut. And it gives a pretty close cut. Oh, hi, Debbie. Thanks for watching from Michigan. I appreciate it. So again, I'm going to put the very end of my ruler, that little hole, like this side, right? I have it right up against those letters. And then I'm going to move my paper a little bit to the right, not too much, and then cut. And that will get you pretty close cuttings. Now, if you have a super steady hand, you can go ahead and cut it just with snips. But again, that makes me nervous. Knowing me, I'd cut it and then decide I don't like it and then have to do it all over again. I apologize that I'm covering my hand with my sleeve. I don't know why, but I find my Night of Navy tends to, like the heat and moisture off my hands, it tends to smear my Night of Navy for some reason. So I just kind of cover my hand with my sleeve when I cut with it. I don't normally stamp like that. Okay. Let's see here. So I gotta be careful when I'm picking it up because it will smear. So I kind of want happy there. And I kind of want birthday. I want them offset ever so slightly like that. Okay. You're definitely going to need some sort of dimensionals. Oh, did I move my camera? I'm sorry. I'm all crooked now. Dimensionals. If you have the mini ones, those would be ideal just because you have such a small piece of paper you're working with here. But if not, just cut up your big ones. Although these mini ones are amazing and they last forever. I highly recommend them. I'm going to put a mini dimensional on either side. Hold on. I got to do this like this. Ah! They're super tiny, so they do take, a little bit of getting used to. Okay, there we go. Thanks, Linda. I so appreciate it. I'm glad you like it. Okay. So, don't adhere it upside down. Now, I kind of left, so I have my twine tails. Say that 10 times fast. And I have them kind of caught up. So, I'm going to have the tails kind of in here. So, I'm looking to see where but I also don't want my dimensional on top of them. So I'm just kind of looking down, like almost flat to my workstation here to make sure to see exactly where that dimensional was and to catch it just right. Okay, so the birthday, we're going to use more. The minis, one on either side will do it. They're just little stickers, so I'll peel off the back. Oops. Okay. And then again, make sure you're stamping it right side. Don't do it upside down, although I've been known to. And then again, I'm kind of going, like I'm shifting my eyesight so I can see, you know what? Is that dry? Hold on. I just noticed that little piece of my shirt. That has to be annoying you guys to look at. There we go. Okay, let's try this again. So I'm kind of seeing where that dimensional is because I want to make sure I don't put it on top of the twine. And then kind of pulling out my tails a little bit so they're still, oh, it's a little low. I wish I hadn't done it that low. Hold on, can I pull it up? Oh, can I pull it up? Oh, I can totally pull it up. Okay, I want it a little higher. Like there. There we go. That's better. I like that. It was a little low before. It's a little hot. I mean, it can be challenging to get around this knot. It's like lifting it a little bit, but definitely doable. So here's the thing about dimensionals. As long as you don't really push them down, you can pull them up. What I like to do is I always say to pull out as opposed to pulling up. If you pull kind of sideways, like horizontal, you just have a better chance of it not warping your paper. So again, we've been working on just a single piece of cardstock this whole time. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere it on my card front. Now, I could just go ahead and adhere it down with snail and it wouldn't be the end of the world. But because my twine back here has so much, it's just thick, it's going to kind of leave a bump in my card. So it's a little silly, but I'm going to adhere this down with dimensionals because I want my card to lay nice and flat to my card front. So there's no like aesthetic reason for doing this. There's no, like, it doesn't improve the card at all. It's not like, oh, look, I love how you did the little lift on it. Probably no one will even notice, quite honestly. But the card front will just sit a little bit better. And then just find your dimensionals and kind of give it a little press. Make sure they're all stuck on well. And then you'll be done. So this is the one I made tonight. This is my example. I did things a little bit differently, different sentiment, but same idea, same concept, and can definitely be replicated for all sorts of occasions and whatever. So let me know if you guys have any questions. If you've been watching and have yet to leave a comment of some sort and you would like a chance to win tonight's card, certainly leave a comment quickly. As soon as I'm done here, I'm going to pick a name for someone to win tonight's card. Stay well, everyone. Stay healthy, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye.